Well, that sucked. Warning, F-bombs are armed and will be dropped today. Can't avoid it. Sorry I'm late. I had a technical issue related to something I ate a couple days ago. I'm sure you all understand. If you haven't been there, you will be someday. So anyway, all right, let's get this started. First of all, let me get my pack up where it belongs. There we go. And then, how about I go through the list? All right, so I'm going to start with the Fauci emails. No, I'm going to start with an apology. Last week, what happened? I was going to do a premiere. It was set to go. We were up at the lake house. The lake house has no internet connection whatsoever. Okay, well, Papa Carey was going to get internet connection installed on Tuesday. Yeah, well, Monday they decided to inform him that they would not be installing because of COVID. He was going to be installing. Oh, well, yeah, that's not going to happen. So we were scrambling for like 5-6 hours on Wednesday rather, trying to figure out how to get it uploaded, and nothing was working. I actually had to come back to reality, back to civilization, and upload it from there. That sucked. So I'm sorry it didn't go off without a hitch like it's supposed to. Yeah, it is what it is, and I'm sorry. All right, so I'm going to move on to the next subject, which was the Fauci emails. Yes, troll. A little bit of boomer here, just not the kind you think. Hey, Luke. Good to see you. I'm glad to see you're good. Right, Fauci emails. What's been revealed so far is that he gave money to a group, turned around and gave money to the lab to do research that was not allowed to be supported, right? Some people are accusing him of an end run around the funding ban, and you know what? That's probably mostly true. He probably was trying to get around the ban. What's not exactly true is the allegations that have been made since then that the leak came from Wuhan. There's actually no proof that that's what happened. What's been proven is only that he gave money to this group, whoever the hell that is. I don't remember, and I don't really care, who gave funding for unauthorized research. Okay, that happened. That's it. It gets a little bit worse. Some people are accusing him of knowingly getting this situation created just to create a leak, just to cause a leak. No, not really. In fact, I can almost, not quite, but almost defend the funding for the unauthorized research, because we do need to know what other people are doing or are capable of doing. Most of y'all don't realize this, but U.S. has an equivalent facility. It used to be at Fort Detrick. Now it's apparently been moved or something. If you've ever, if you watch Criminal Minds, you'll know that there's an episode, and I just saw amplification. Some totally Looney Tunes a virology student murders his professor and uses the professor's facilities, his house, to develop just a wicked, nasty version of anthrax. And then he manufactures like half a ton of the shit with the intention of killing a lot of people. Okay. That's all fiction, right? Well, no, that can actually happen, but it gets worse if you don't believe, or if you can believe it. At the very end of the episode, there's just a tiny little sample, and it's being moved into what looks like a bank vault because that's actually what it was based on. They're moving this sample into this vault where basically it's going to be stored forever plus one with no intention of ever letting this thing out. They want to know what it is, want to be able to research it someday when they think they can do it safely, but they don't ever want to touch this. This stuff is disgustingly out of control. Okay, well, that facility exists, and it's not a secret. China, I believe it was, a couple of weeks ago, accused the U.S. of secret warfare research. No, it's not a secret. It's been public domain, public knowledge for well longer than I've been alive. Anyway, um, we're not developing anything new that I know of. And every civilized country has said, no, we're not going to develop anything new. Remember that caveat, civilized. And China may have gone a little bit crazy and decided, well, we're going to work on something anyway. It could have happened. I can't tell you that that's bullshit. They're not going to go looking for something that doesn't already exist. Believe me, there's plenty of nasties out there that are so ugly and awful and horrible that you don't even want to know about that already exists. Why is China going to go looking for something new? Okay. Yeah, Luke, good for you altogether. I'm glad you're able to work right now. And yeah, Troll, I've actually been going about a minute now, I think. Um, Literally, shit happens sometimes in life. Yeah, that was the technical issue. Moving on. Um, what the emails don't reveal is that it changes nothing. Anybody could have developed this virus, and if you've seen amplification, first of all, if you haven't, go find it. I will see if I can get find one on YouTube or somewhere else and put it in the description. More importantly, anybody can do this, and in amplification, he did it basically in his professor's galley. Okay, that's not fair. It was his own private little lab that he had. A lesser version of this was the 1986, I think, salmonella outbreak in the Dalles, Oregon. I've been to the Dalles. It's the Dalles. They did it in a shed. Now, nobody died in the 86 case, but that wasn't for lack of capability. They were not trying to kill anybody. That's why they used salmonella. A coronavirus, I'll tell you all the truth. I'd never heard of a coronavirus before maybe November of 19. Maybe as early as November of 19 was the first I'd ever heard the word, and I knew something was up. I knew something was sketchy because I had just heard the word earlier that week. It's a totally new word to me. And I think Luke remembers this. I'm on Discord. talking about it. My phone knew that word. Oh, that proves that something's up because this word that's never existed before, my phone knew it. Knew the word and auto-corrected. Flag on the play. I was mistaken. In November of 2019, this was not a new word. So, of course, my phone knew it. Okay. All right. I'm wrong there. No great grand conspiracy there. I'd also entertained the notion that perhaps this was a update and I wasn't aware of it. Well, no, it was an old word. Okay, I was wrong. Bear in mind, though, the real point of this rant, Fauci's emails do not prove where this came from. Doesn't prove where it didn't come from. It only proves that he knew something was going on before it happened. Remember, for how many of you have been saying, and I know Luke can testify to this, that the outbreak was caused by selling bat meat out the back of the lab, right? Um, well, okay, that theory has been pretty well disproven, right? What other theories are going to be thoroughly disproven by the end of this month? I'm just saying. All right. Troll said, we vaccinate dogs and cats against coronaviruses. It's good to know. I did not know that until just now. Um, I wonder if humans are getting vaccines. You know what? When we're little, the MMR that's been blasted so much. Wonder if that's part of that package. Good to know. Uh, in a standard Spectra 7. This is a term I'm not familiar with. Don't worry about it. I'll look it up later on my own time. I'm on your guys' time right now. I'll check into that. And here, Luke is confirming, yeah, the story was BS from the start. Okay. He's confirming the story was BS from the start. You know what? I knew the story was BS as early as October of 2019. He's not here to defend himself, and that's unfortunate. He will never come in here. But Alex was talking about this as far back late October 2019. He posted, I think it was to Discord, a video. It shows it's a nighttime scene along what looks like a highway to me, or freeway actually to me. There's a police car, and there's a couple cops standing around. I never see them actually touch this woman, but then she falls and she appears to be dead. That was very late October 2016. And I'm watching this, I'm wondering what the hell happened here? What's going on? You know, they didn't touch her. How did she pass out? I remember thinking she passed out. Well, now we know not only was the story bullshit, but it gets worse. It's not just that bullshit from when China was trying to say, oh, no, nothing's happening here. We're good. We're all fine here now. How are you? Even then, the story was bullshit. Right. And now this story that comes out, or this theory that comes out, I don't know, January 2020, maybe, that this thing is caused by selling bat meat out the back of a lab. Okay, this is China. We're talking about China, right? This is the same country. Are we all agreed here? This is a country that beheaded 5 men because one of them, not all 5 of them, one of them got caught being involved in a piracy scheme. What do you think they'll do to somebody that they caught selling bat meat out the back of a research facility? I don't even want to think about it. Beheading would be a polite and kind punishment compared to what they're going to do to that guy. Can't speak about China's facilities specifically, but I can give you some general ideas. The U.S. facility, the one that at least used to be at Fort Detrick, if a researcher was exposed to something and they couldn't treat it, well, even if they could, the researcher was put into a sub facility called the submarine. If that name sounds kind of odd and getting your attention a little bit, it should, because it's a death chamber. If you recover to the facility staff satisfaction, you're allowed out. If you do not, you die in there, first of all. And second of all, they pump it full of, I believe it's hydrogen gas and oxygen. And then they cremate you right on scene. They cremate you at such a high temperature that they actually have to open up the submarine after it cools off, obviously, and reline it because it burns the first 10 millionth, I think it is, of the chamber's surface. They actually vaporize the metal or whatever the hell it is they made it out of in there. That burns off as well. That is how, to give you some idea, the reactor core at Chernobyl was not quite as hot as the submarine gets if there's a terminal failure. I could very much imagine that if they caught somebody cheating that way at the Wuhan facility, the Chinese government would be very happy to get rid of damaged or infected personnel that way. He's not actually dead yet. Well, he will be soon. We're not talking about people who play nice. That was actually the bat soup story. Was my personal first hint that something here was wrong. They're talking about bat soup. Oh, that's not funny at all. What? Bat soup? That's when it started to hit me that something was wrong with this entire thing. And actually, it was like 2 seconds later when I remembered China and Iran had conducted naval exercises, what was it, 4 months before, which we now know is about the time the first possible exposure happened. That's quite a coincidence. 3 months ago was when people started talking about there being a problem. 4 months ago, about a month before that, is when they had this exercise. Wow, what timing, what finesse. No, not a coincidence at all. Is Andrew Fauci an honest, forthright, good guy? Is he deadly dude right now? No. If you believe that he is the hero of our story. You're willfully ignorant, and you will probably die in extreme pain. And I can't do anything to help you. The emails actually pretty much prove out that, yeah, he lies, his feet stink, and Jesus hates his ass. And I know what that means. Don't read any more into the emails than is actually there. Right? Don't read into it and say, "Oh, this proves that it came from Wuhan," because it doesn't prove anything of the sort. It only proves that he lies, his feet stink, Jesus hates his ass, and oh yeah, by the way, he knew something was up before something even happened. On that note, if you've been hanging around the channel for a while, you know my feelings on the Iranian government. Persians in general don't care. They're people who live under the worst kind of dictatorship, a sectarian dictatorship. The thing about being a sectarian dictator is you think you can do anything you want because you're literally speaking for God. So yeah, I don't harbor them any particular well. I don't harbor them any particular ill either. The Iranian government, you all know how I feel about them. What I haven't been getting at, though, or haven't been talking, I think, enough about, is they don't do anything directly. They didn't support ISIS directly at first. Round about 2014 is when they started being a lot more obvious about their activities, and the presence of Iranian designed anti-tank, was an anti-vehicle equipment showing up in mostly in the very northern Iraq area was the straw that broke the camel's back. After that, it's, yeah, Iran really is supporting these people. We knew a couple of years before that something was up because white running shoes was showing up on ISIS fighters on a really constant and regular basis. And these white running shoes could all be traced back to an Iranian factory. One particular factory, I've seen the name of the factory and the city it was in, and described as being in outskirts of, not Guam, but the hell's the name of that city? It's not Tehran. It's kind of east of Tehran and south of Guam. So, sorry guys, that's the best description I can give you. All of a sudden, everybody's wearing these shoes. Wow. Wonder how they got them, is what U.S. intelligence was not really saying. And now, all of a sudden, an Iranian anti-tank line shows up. Huh, gee. Like we didn't already know that. One second, guys. Troll says, off to 6, off topic. Have you seen the cycle footage? I'll get back to that in a second. Iran has been giving money to George Soros. This is documented. This is not some shitpost conspiracy theory crap. All right? Business Insider is actually how I originally found it. They're not going to lie to protect me. Right? They've never even heard of me. And if anything, they'd lie to hurt me. Oh, mandatory carry says Iran is supporting George Soros. We got to break this narrative. Well, we'll find an excuse. All right. George Soros, if that name doesn't mean anything to you, you fucking living under a rock in a vault behind a blast door, behind a pile of muties, rather. There's no way you haven't heard of that name or what he stands for, what he's been doing. Hi, Buckle. Welcome back. Everybody, Buckle has been was really sick for a while, so please say hi, bringing her back. We were all worried about you. Well, I was. I assume everybody else was too. Moving on. Um, the aspersions, so far they're just aspersions, as far as I know, that Fauci is somehow beholden to Soros widely. That accusation's been made so much I won't even bother. And now here he is knowing something's up. I'm just saying. I think I've beat on this enough. Don't read anything more into those emails than is actually there. And buckle up because there's going to be another round. All right. Troll asked if I had seen the AK-50 BMG cycle footage. No, but I heard about it. How do I put this without being disrespectful? I don't really care what Brandon's doing, right? He's free to go build a 30 millimeter autocannon for all I care. I don't care. He's not doing anything that I didn't know 10 years ago was at least theoretically plausible. And to be perfectly blunt, has probably been done before that in some sort of um, experimental thing. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I hope it worked, and I wish him all the well. If he makes millions off of that, I'll be very happy. But no, I just don't care. Okay. Troll notice Buckles back. Normally, I stream from 09 to 1100 Pacific time. I live just outside of Reno. Today I was a little late. And you're very welcome. Like I said, all of us are very happy that you're feeling better. All right. I hope I beat on subject number 1 hard enough, because I'd like to move on to subject number 2. And subject 2 is actually 2A and B. All right. I'm going to get in trouble with YouTube, but fuck you. Holocaust deniers live in the same kind of unreality that gun control supporters live in. And I should know because I used to be one of those supporters. This is actually kind of a message to one person specifically and a smaller group in general. All right. Let's presume we know nothing about what was happening in Germany in the 30s and 40s. This is total news to all of us. And oh yeah, by the way, this is 1945? I think it was 45 when the Nuremberg tribunals began. Goring, Hermann Goring, is up on the witness stand. The British prosecutor approaches him with a piece of paper, hands him the piece of paper and says, "Do you recognize this?" Goring takes it and he reads it and he says, "Yes, I recognize this." "Is that your signature on the document?" "Yes, that's my signature on the document." "Would you read the document to the jury, or at least would you tell us what it says?" Well, what it said was that Hermann Goring, by his authority, was ordering that any Jew who had served in the army in the First World War, or was it in the services, in the military in the First World War, was not to be interred. Now, Goring and everybody else's defense had been, I did not have the authority to do this. Only Himmler and Hitler and a couple of others had the authority to do this. I'm not responsible. Okay, well, that had been their defense. Here's this document that Goring had signed saying, you're not going to lock these people up, this specific group of Jews up. The British prosecutor, I don't know his name, but I do know he was the British prosecutor, said, if you didn't have the authority to have these people locked up, then how did you have the authority to have them released? Oh, snap. Not only was Goring not denying that the events had happened, but he in fact had given specific orders about under what circumstances they were to happen. Goring blew a golden opportunity right then and there. He literally could have gotten himself and all of his co-defendants off the hook. They would have still been convicted of other related and unrelated crimes, except for Dornitz, because he was never actually charged with crimes against humanity. Maybe a couple others that I'm not aware of. He could have gotten them all off the hook. All Goring had to do was say, you know what, you're right, I didn't have the authority, and Hitler rescinded the order and threatened to fire me, to dismiss me from my post, to have me executed, to anything he wanted to do for treason if I ever tried this again. He could have actually made himself out to be the hero of the story and taken with him anybody he wanted, or at least most of them, by having played the saboteur role. He didn't do that, and that's unfortunate for him. The worst part about that is it's theoretically plausible. He might have been a saboteur, a limited saboteur, but a saboteur nonetheless. But he couldn't keep his wits about him long enough to take advantage of the opportunity. On to the subordinate part of this little rant is conspiracy theorists. Okay. I'm a conspiracy theorist. And to be perfectly blunt, like 90% of the rest of the world is as well. That's not a bad thing. A healthy skepticism towards literally anything you see will keep you alive. Popular Mechanics came out with an article specifically about conspiracy theories. I know because I was reading it up at the lake house, and I wish I'd included it in last week's premiere. And oh well, shit happens, I'm over it. They're talking about, why do people believe conspiracy theories? I mean, besides the fact that they can be fun, as long as you keep that skepticism to of your own of, hey, this is a theory, doesn't mean it's true. Um, Not to be called a hypocrite, yeah, I could be wrong about Iran's coronavirus uh, involvement too. You need to keep that healthy skepticism, because that conspiracy theory, that skepticism, that underlying fears is what kept your ancestors alive for, well, from Lucy until the development of writing, at least. It was that skepticism, that paranoia that gives rise to conspiracy theories that made them look at those tree branches and say something's not right there, or those leaves or those blades of grass over there that said something's wrong with this picture, and go a different direction, or at least be ready for what's behind those blades of grass. You've also got to keep your conspiracies and skepticism a little bit in check, and make sure you're not going crazy. Um, and they gave a really awesome example, right? For those of you that remember the Dakota crash, the conspiracy surrounding that, they talked about that a little bit, right? And I'm starting to read that, and I'm thinking, oh, you mean when the plane flipped, right? For those of you that maybe you're a little too young to remember, there was a plane. Their entire control system blew out because one of the fan blades disintegrated, literally gutted the engine, which in turn gutted the control system. They lost all control over the plane's movement, and eventually they figured out that they could fly the plane by shifting fuel back and forth between the wings. God was definitely on their side that day, because they landed that plane. And I remember I'm about, maybe about this tall at the time. It tells you how long ago it was. I'm watching the crash, or obviously a replay of the crash on Saturday morning cartoons, and the plane flips end over end like this and finally comes to a rest. I know nobody's getting out of that plane, right? They're all dead. Write them off already. No, that's not what happened, was it? For those of you that are old enough to remember, the plane crashed, yes, and some people died. Okay. But at least 75% of the crew and passengers walked away from the plane. Well, ran away from the plane, more to the point. And I think only 10 people total died. Those are some, I can't even think about how big those statistics are, how improbable that scenario is. So of course, Monday morning, when I'm getting onto the bus to go to school, I'm already hearing about conspiracies. No, the plane didn't really crash. It was a model. The CIA shot it down, under control, by the way. Oh, Troll and Luke, I know the two of you are old enough to remember that. Buckle, I think you're a little bit on the young side, but okay, quite a bit. But I know you're old enough to remember people talking about it. So if you guys can remember some of the crazy ass conspiracies around the cornfield crash, go ahead and toss them out there. I'd kind of be curious to see which ones I remember and which ones I don't, or I never heard. So, of course, the Dakota crash conspiracy theory, right? And they're talking about the rest of the conspiracies and why people absolutely believe them. And then they mentioned that the Dakota crash conspiracy theory was particularly disturbing to them for a reason. And 3, 2, 1. Because the Dakota crash conspiracy theory was something that was made up for the study. There was no Dakota crash conspiracy theory or conspiracy of any sort. There's no Dakota crash. No. Has there been a Dakota that crashed? That's a type of plane? Sure. One I know literally nothing about, even whether it's wood and canvas or biplane or metal, and it could still be and it could still be a biplane even though it's metal. So that's a type of plane. Was it referring to North or South Dakota? Or excuse me, uh, have there been planes crashed in North and South Dakota? Yeah. Just because I can't think of any off the top of my head doesn't mean it's never happened. There is no Dakota crash, right? There's no conspiracy. That didn't happen. They made it up for the study to see if people would respond yes. And I'm telling you all the truth. I would have responded yes. Oh, yeah, I remember hearing about that and dismissing it. I don't believe it, but I remember hearing about it. And as I'm reading the words Dakota crash, I'm thinking of the Iowa cornfield crash. The one where for about 20 years I thought everybody had walked away. No. About a year ago, I saw a documentary on the crash, and yeah, 10 people did die. Oops, I didn't even remember that part correctly. As you're hearing these various conspiracy theories or whatever, always take that step back and say, wait a minute, is this what I'm hearing? Dakota crash, I filled in the blanks with the Iowa crash. And I'm sure 90% of the people who responded yes did as well. That's just unfortunately human nature. So always step back and ask yourself, wait a minute, what am I remembering here? 5 times. Oh, congratulations. Um, Anything you hear, whether it's true or not, take a step back, take a deep breath, give yourself some healthy skepticism. Great example of a time when people didn't give themselves healthy skepticism of a conspiracy theory was during the American Civil War. One guy shows up at Pinkerton's office. He's got a chest. It's about, according to History Channel, was about yay big by yay big by yay big. And it's filled with linens. He walks in there and he specifically accuses a man, a doctor somewhere, of wanting these linens because they've been infected with, they've been exposed to, the hell did he say they were exposed to? I don't even remember. I'm just going to say anthrax because it's a placeholder, okay? So these linens have been exposed to anthrax, and this doctor's going to give it to Abraham Lincoln so that he gets anthrax, he dies, and the war is over. The doctor who was named was known to be a Southern sympathizer. He was tried. He was found not guilty. And later on, the doctor would say, if anybody has any evidence of this, I'd like to see it too. take a very, very strong dose of skepticism. If you have to buy it from a pharmacy, get a prescription and go buy it, right? The US federal government didn't take that skeptical view. You know, hey, this is a little far-fetched for us, but we're going to believe you because we want to believe it. I know my Iran theory, a little bit of me not having this healthy skepticism, which is why I went back and started looking, okay, well, is this true? Is this true? Is this true? Or is this possible, possible, possible? And yeah, all of it's plausible. Okay. And I still have to ask myself, is it true? Well, it's all plausible. And that's all I can say. Don't accept, no matter how clear it is, don't accept a conspiracy theory just because you want to. Now, me, I have an overabundance of that skepticism. So much so, I don't even believe that there's a Kennedy conspiracy. I do not believe that uh, John Kennedy was assassinated as a conspiracy. He was shot by Oswald because Oswald wanted him dead. Small flag on that play. I do not believe that Bobby Kennedy was killed as a conspiracy. I believe Sirhan Sirhan murdered him for reasons known only to Sirhan Sirhan. And I think both of them are tied to mental illness. I actually think both of them murdered uh, their respective target with at least a little bit of mental illness involved. Not enough to make you criminally not triable, but more than enough to have affected their clear judgment. I said small flag on the play. I'm not entirely convinced that Oswald was aiming for Kennedy. And I'm not the only one that believes this. I know because I got this from, I think it was History Channel. They put all of the evidence together and said, you know, we think maybe he was aiming at the governor. Somebody remind me of the governor's name. We think maybe he was aiming at the governor and shot Kennedy by mistake. That's not implausible. I don't believe in the men on the grassy knoll. I don't believe the CIA was involved in it. I don't believe that one of Kennedy's girlfriends was involved in it. And when I was in at school, I actually had to write a Kennedy assassination conspiracy theory or take 0 on it. So I came up with the most absolutely ridiculous conspiracy theory I could, and unfortunately, you know, I wanted a guaranteed F on this so that I could say, yes, I did the assignment, and I still got an F. Unfortunately for me, I got an A on that, or maybe it was a B, because that was my instructor's conspiracy theory from when he was in my position. Oh, damn it! That wasn't the plan. It is what it is. Okay. Buckle is saying the mob claimed they clipped John F. Kennedy because JFK's dad never kept his word with mob. That's news to me. But then again, we are talking about Papa Kennedy. The hell was his name? I can't remember Papa Kennedy's name. For those of you that maybe never heard this before, John F. Kennedy's old man, Papa Kennedy, was a bootlegger. Was here. or was he a moonshiner? Maybe all the above. During Prohibition, he was responsible for roughly a quarter, I think it was, altogether of the mob's alcohol that they sold. I mean, this guy, Joseph Kennedy. Joseph Kennedy supplied about 25% of the mob's alcohol during Prohibition. Um, he, this was no small time dealer, right? This guy was massive, oh, massive smuggler. As Buckle Bunny corrected, he was a bootlegger, runner, smuggler. He never actually touched product himself that I know of. He was the kingpin of the smuggling organization. Um, the idea that Joe Kennedy may have ripped off the mob does not in any way surprise me. I don't. I really don't buy this story. I don't care who started it. And now that I think about it, Buckle's right. I've heard that one before too. But I don't buy the story. The mob had Jack clipped because Joe ripped him off. Right? They would have gone after Joe first, and it's not like they didn't have the resources to go after him. Considering the kind of money we're talking about here, the mob would not have killed him. Well, they would have, but not by putting a bullet through his head. I'm just saying. Buckle Bunny says Jack was killed over political crap, and as History Channel pointed out, maybe he wasn't even the target. Maybe Oswald just fucked up. He killed Jack when he meant to kill he killed the president when he meant to kill the governor. No, I know his name wasn't Wallace. Wallace was Alabama about the same time. I can't remember now off the top of my head. It doesn't matter. All right, so yes, treat conspiracy theories with a very healthy grain of salt. It's not a conspiracy theory to say that the Holocaust happened. It's a conspiracy theory to say that so many people are lying about it happening. That's a conspiracy theory, and that's a pretty big one. That would require Joseph Stalin, Harry Truman, and Winston Churchill to all lie about the same thing at the same time, and their successors. Eisenhower lied. Well, Stalin was his own successor for the next 10 years, so that doesn't count. Who the hell was Churchill's successor? I honestly can't remember off the top of my head. George. Troll says George. Oh, I'm sorry. I need to catch up a little bit. George Brady was the governor of Texas. Thank you, guys. It was Brady, and maybe Troll's reference to George was the new prime minister of England. I'll figure it out later. Either way, all of them are lying, and all of their subordinates are all lying about the Holocaust. Are you kidding me? It's not just them. They're Germans who say, yeah, this happened. And some of them saying, by the way, I was involved. I was there. I did this. I did that. I did something else. They're not all lying. They cannot all be lying at the same time. That's not possible. You cannot get that many people to lie about the same thing at the same time, even for love or money. That's a conspiracy theory. Okay. I hope I beat up on that subject long enough because I'm going to move on. Miller versus Bonta. Right. First of all, well, thank you, Troll. George Wallace, governor of Alabama at the time. Um, I'm sure you've all heard about this by now. California just suffered a huge setback in their 31-year-old assault weapons ban. Hey, DM Foss, I'll check that out in a second. Suffered a huge setback. Now, it's not as big a setback as you might think. Here's the facts of the case. 3 years ago, maybe, a man named Miller, I have no idea his first name, actually brought a injunction, not a civil suit, but an injunction, very different things, against then Attorney General Bacara to the effect that the assault weapons ban, California's assault weapons ban, was unconstitutional. The judge who eventually heard the case, somebody tell me in the chat, I know it's going to be Foss because he's all over this, has ruled last Thursday? Friday. Ruled Friday that this ban was unconstitutional. Hooray, it's over, right? No, guess again. First of all, he put a stay on enforcement of his own injunction. All right. A lesson learned from the last time he ruled on a California ban. No judge wants to make a ruling that can be reversed later. No judge wants to do that. It looks bad on your record. And if you have too many of these kinds of black spots, you will be removed from your bench. Whether you like it or not, His Honor was right to put a stay on enforcement of his injunction until the appeals process had moved forward. What he ruled, the opening line of his ruling is, like the Swiss Army knife, the AR-15 is the perfect combination of home defense and national defense. I might have gotten those last two words wrong, but the rest of it I got right. Talk about not mincing words there. He came just short of saying that these should be in every home. I tell you, the biggest concentration of non-compliant AR-15s in California are right there in downtown San Francisco. Don't ask me how I know that. Moving on. He ruled that the California's assault weapons ban was unconstitutional, but he put a stay on enforcement because he knew the state of California was going to appeal his decision. He did not want a black mark of a complete reversal on his record. He doesn't want to lose his bench, and you don't want him to lose his bench either. He's been very 2A friendly. He's going to make more of these kinds of decisions. Sure enough, California has already begun to appeal the decision, and it's a ridiculous appeal either way. He also ordered that Gavin Newsom pay, what is it, $2.1 million in attorney's fees. Now, Gavin's not going to pay a penny of that, right? He's going to take it out of taxpayers' funds so that he's making taxpayers pay for his own bad decisions. That's the way that works. Flag on the play. You could say that Gavin was only carrying out the will of the people, and therefore it is their obligation to pay the $2.1 million. No. He could have said, no, I recognize that this is bad law. I'm going to order this case to stop proceeding forward and go for a settlement under terms that the plaintiff finds acceptable. He didn't do that. He ordered first Beccaria and then Bonta to continue to fight this case. And now this Miller gentleman has had to spend $2.1 million that he has to be compensated for. All right. Imagine for a moment that any one of you is the president of a company. All right. Let's call it the Carey LLC. Okay. I'm one of your stockholders, and I say, I don't want you to sell this new product because it's a bad product. It's defective. It's customers hate it, got bad reviews, whatever. And you say, nope, I'm going to do it anyway. I sue you for having continued to proceed forward with this after me and other stockholders have all told you not to do that. And you lost in court. What Gavin is doing is the equivalent of making us pay you for the legal fees that we paid. Oh, he's literally making the victims of his own crime pay for his legal fees. Best thing you can do as far as Miller versus Bonta goes is help support Mr. Miller in whatever form you can. I wish I knew more about this case. I would give it to you. But this is a battle that needs to be fought and won. As much as I don't like them, FPC, Firearms Policy Coalition, were the ones that stepped up and made this thing happen. My beef with FPC is the same as my beef with pretty much everybody else in that world. They don't reply to emails. They don't reply to snail mails. They don't reply to phone calls. It's very annoying. But they did make this happen, so good. They did good. So a good place to help support Miller versus Bonta now. Turn to FBC. Give them like $10. All right, gotta catch up on chat. Buckle said, we need to remember our history, hence history repeats itself. Yeah, that was George Santayana. Or he said a version of this. Every time you cover up a piece of history or obscure it or whitewash it or anything else other than address it the way it really happened, warts and all, it's going to turn around and happen again. Take slavery, for example. People who don't want to talk about slavery now, the way it really did happen, are the people that are trying to make sure it happens again. And you got them on the left, you got them on the right. Very disturbingly, the people on the left that want to cover up the truth about history or about the history of slavery are trying to tell you they're trying to prevent it from happening again. No, you're trying to make it happen again, guys. You're just trying to make it happen the other way around. DMFA said, Anthony Eden replaced Churchill. Thank you. I'm pretty sure Prime Minister Eden is not lying to all of us about what happened in Germany in 1940, 30s and 40s. I'm just gonna go out there on a limb a little bit and say, no, He's not lying to, or he wasn't lying to everyone about everything. That's too big a lie to try to hide. The Infos also would give me the name, Justice Benitez of the Ninth Circuit Court. Thank you, boss. I knew you would be on it. Troll says, those who choose to rewrite history are doomed to be confused when it repeats. Wow, Troll. That is so true. Thank you, Buckle, for getting to it before I did. Yeah, apparently he created that little bit of doggerel himself. But you know what? He's right. They will be confused when it happens again. Hey, I was anti-slavery. Why am I in chains? Because you wanted this so badly. I've said before that when they come for me, they're going to find me crushed to death under a pile of hot brass. I intend to come as close to that as I can, and I assure you, they will not take me alive. If they do, they will really, really wish they hadn't. Very quickly. You know how hard it is to make a shiv? Yeah. Imagine me as a slave with a shiv. I mean, yeah, they'll kill me then. I'm going to take somebody with me. Congratulations, Nevadan. You took one more with you. One more on top of the couple dozen you took before. So, going back to Miller versus Bonta. This is not the slam dunk that some people think it is, but by goddamn, the ball hit the rim. All right. Right now, we're waiting to see if the referees are going to call it after the shot or before. Everything you can do to make sure that the referees say, no, this was before the shot, is one more step the right direction. I want to bash on the subject of assault weapons, and this is actually coming very soon. Assault weapon does not mean semi-automatic anything. If it's semi-automatic only, it's not an assault weapon. Even if it's automatic, if it still doesn't meet the rest of the definition, it's not an assault weapon. An M60 is not an assault weapon. An M240 is not an assault weapon because they're both belt fed. Continuous feed makes it a machine gun. And if you really want me to rant, one of these days I'll tell you the bolt action machine gun story and see if I can get my old coxswain to verify that, yeah, that shit happened. But moving right along, detachable magazine fed. There's a lot of weapons that are detachable magazine fed. My AR that's normally in the scene with me, but well, there's a reason I got a late start today. Is detachable magazine fed, and so would the Pancor jackhammer if it ever gotten into production. Luke knows about my absolute obsessed fascination with the Cry Precision 612. How badly I really want one. Yeah, it's detachable magazine fed too. Pancor and the 612 are both cylinder fed. Now, if you're familiar with revolvers, you know the revolver cylinder typically isn't terribly removable. Yes, they can be removed on literally all of them. But at very least, it's a highly inconvenient process. At best, or at worst, it requires tools. Mama carries old 38. Take that off, the cylinder that you needed a flathead screwdriver. I think it was a flathead screwdriver. I know I did it once. Papa carries 38. Actually, you don't remove it that way either. You've got to basically disassemble the cylinder to remove it. The entire, well, the spring stays on the ejection rod, but that's about it. Whoa, hi, Ghost. I thought you'd be at work, but everybody say hello to Ghost Tactical. This is actually somebody that I'm respectful of. So, yeah, don't treat him like you treat me. Treat him like any normal human would tell you to treat them. Where was I in this little rant? Oh yeah, my AR-15. Yes, it's detachable magazine fed, but because it's semi-auto only, it's not an assault weapon. Period. For those of you that are a little less unfamiliar with the subject, yes, there is a way to convert an AR-15 to an automatic only function. If I ever catch you doing that to my gun, just be thankful if the worst it gets is I tell you you're never even seeing my gun again, because I know my gun can't handle it. That's it. I also know somebody who's done it. Yeah, fuck y'all. It was Brent, okay? I was there the day that he put the coat hanger trick in. Flag on the play. Brent did it professionally, so he had the class 7. I never really understood his business too much. I think it was class 7 license to do that shit. I always thought it was class 3, so bear with me here. Um, he did that professionally. That was his job. That was something he was actually being paid to do. Up in the center of Napa Valley, he'd get away with this kind of crazy shit. Brett was also a little bit, touched. Where was I? Uh, he converted his much better AR to automatic with a coat hanger, and it worked fine. I don't know what the difference between his and mine was, but he had an actual assault weapon, right? For those of you that caught the premiere from last week, that Keltec that I showed, if there's a way to convert them to automatic, I don't know about it. I don't care. But moving on, if you were to convert it to automatic, yeah, that would be a submachine gun and detachable magazine fed, which would make it an assault weapon. My AR is not. And I'm really, for those of you that have read Dataslog, you'll notice that there's a very weird little section that says if you use these terms in way against, if you use the term assault weapon for a weapon that's not an assault weapon, you could go to prison for 10 years and your employer could face a $10 million fine. Every so often somebody says, that's a typo. No, it's not. I actually want the employer to go with you, but it was pointed out to me that that might not pass Eighth Amendment muster. And oh yeah, have I mentioned I'm not a big Eighth Amendment supporter? For those of you that are old enough to remember, Charles Manson is one of the reasons I'm not a big Eighth Amendment supporter. No, Ghost, I look like shit. I literally looked like I rolled out of the rack because I rolled out of the rack, didn't take a shower, and didn't shave, didn't even try. Before something came down that made me late to the stream. It is what it is. Catching up on the rest of the chat. Okay. Assault weapon does not mean anything you fucking want it to mean. Right? You want to go down that route. This is an assault weapon because I could assault you with it. It also does not mean whatever you want it to mean. I'm not going to name names, but there's a t-shirt floating around that says assault rifle, emphasis on the rifle for a reason. Scary looking gun that scares libs or some shit like that. No, that's not what it means either. Very, very small and detailed subset of specifically firearms. Detachable, magazine fed, and automatic and or burst fire capable. The reason this is going under the Miller versus Bonta rant is because California was one of the first to decide doesn't need to be automatic or burst fire capable. It only needs to be semi-automatic. And I vaguely remember this happening, but not understanding what was going on. Because I'm like 8 at the time. Well, let's see, 30 years ago, 45, 15. Okay, so I was 14 at the time. I didn't understand all of these things. All I knew was Dad had a gun. Big deal. I also knew not to go fuck with it too much. Yeah, John Wick's pencil has killed more people than I have. Moving on. And it has that very specific meaning. Okay, so this is coming down the ways pretty quickly, actually. A automatic pistol would be an assault weapon. A submachine gun would be an assault weapon. An M16 would be an assault weapon. A BAR would be an assault weapon. And I mentioned these specifically. Well, Thompson submachine gun would be an assault weapon because the four of them are going to be used as examples when I do that video, followed along with the difference between machine gun, at which point I'm going to use an M240. California didn't win anything as far as assault weapons went. All they did was have a bad law based on absolute total lies be ruled unconstitutional for now. Okay, I'm catching up on chat. Troll says, I was hit by assault beams once. I hope that not all of them at the same time. Ghost said, assault water balloons. You know, that's theoretically a thing, but you have to know some obscure 90s movies to know what I'm talking about there. Troll says, dropped signals. God, I hope it's not me. Ghost is kind of correcting me. Ghost Tactical says, MC, I would say this wasn't a huge win in California, but every little rock helps. It makes the boulder that much smaller. flip it around and drop some rocks on people right now. But moving on, he's right. It's actually a very small. Okay, it's more like a medium-sized win. A judge has come out and said, no, you actually can't do that, and a federal judge at that, in a court that's been traditionally very anti-gun. It's a judge who's been traditionally pro-gun, and that's a good place to start from. But that court has been, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals is just, Mr. Miller was very lucky to get the particular judge that he did. And also what it is a big fat precedent. Ghost is talking about boulders. Well, here's the boulder that's coming. Miller's ruling is going to set off an avalanche, a rock slide. Now, Gavin could back down and accept the ruling as is, and the rock slide never happens. Well, he's not going to, because he's a pompous, arrogant asshole who doesn't understand 2 words in a row. Now, actually, I guess he would understand 2 words in a row, but only that much. He's going to do whatever the hell he wants. He's going to fight this case. He's going to lose because it's going to end up on the Supreme Court, where this case has already been heard in a different form and ruled accordingly. And if you're watching this, you're old enough to remember versus DC. Somebody help me out with the name. I want to say it was Miller versus DC again. This has already been ruled on. Change out 5 words. I think it was the exact same script. Heller versus DC. And the Supreme Court is going to rule then. Yeah, Miller versus Bonta, or whoever supersedes Bonta, is wrong. And that's the end of it. On that note, especially with certain people who are watching, I got a big problem with some of the 2A community. They don't. No, I'm not going Edgar here. But some people don't respond to emails or phone calls or snail mails. I have been sitting since 2017 when, God damn it, if I could see it right now, I'd remember. Anyway, there was a different case headed to the Supreme Court about assault weapons. It is an amicus curiae? I think it's curiae, quote, or amicus curiae for the Supreme Court to help them understand what the difference between assault weapons, machine guns, and literally everything else on earth, including my old man's SKS, is. Yes, thank you. Color, right. If they could get it, if they could see it, they'd have a lot better foundation to run from. Unfortunately, FPF, GOA, the rest of them don't ever respond to anything, so I can't get any help. The only person who actually has stepped up to help me is fucking Ghost Tack and his buddy, Eric Prince. Those are the only 2 people that have stepped up to help me at all. Ghost gave me Eric's name. Eric actually responded to the email. Unfortunately, he gave me very bad news. Printing fees alone would be like $20,000. Supreme Court, they get to write their own special little rules, so they can do pretty much whatever they want. So they require a specific font. There's like, I think Counselor Prince said that there's 10 printers in the United States that are set up to be able to do that. They can pretty much charge whatever the hell they want, no matter how long or short the document is. And his best guess was about $20,000 just in printing fees. Mr. Prince's fees, well, he didn't actually give me a number to work from, but he's talking about a whole lot more money than I'll ever see in my life. So, oh shit, I'm a little behind, guys. Okay. All right. Troll said Thompson is a fearsome piece of equipment. Yeah, mostly. My internet is dropped. Okay, so Troll's internet is sketchy. That's what he meant by lost signal. Um, Ghost said, what the big thing about this is that now there's a different ruling, right? It goes along the same lines. It's not the same thing, right? It's the difference between 2 plus 2 equals 4 versus 3 plus 1 equals 4. They haven't ruled on 3 plus 1 equals 4 yet. That's Miller versus Bonta. They've ruled on 2 plus 2 equals 4. That's Heller versus DC. And they've got to go back and actually say, yeah, 3 plus 1 equals 4. That could qualify it for SCOTUS. It's going there. It is as long as Mr. Miller can maintain the funding to get FPF to go with this case, yeah, it's going to end up on the Supreme Court. I'm not going to say who, but somebody told me that as long as the Supreme Court continues to have certain people on it, as the Chief Justice, it's going, the decision's pretty much over, right? As a matter of fact, I wanted to get my amicus in before they ruled on that, because this is just after Sotomayor was confirmed to the court. Or maybe maybe while she was going through it. I was actually afraid the Supreme Court would rule everything was an assault weapon with her going through. And that would have been bad for all of us. Okay. So, yeah, it will qualify for the Supreme Court as long as it can maintain the funding to get there. Troll says it's been like this for several days. Okay. It's Rocket. Yeah, actually, I don't give a shit. Thank you, Ghost. Ghost says SCOTUS cases are crazy expensive. An amicus curiae is crazy expensive. You think I can afford that? Not going to happen today. And that Roberts is going to try to block as many 2A cases that he can. Yeah. Justice Roberts is. I'm not a fan, and I believe it's the Chief Justice who's leaving the court opened up the spot that Roberts filled. God damn it, the one that called the NRA an act of fraud. I want to say his name was Roberts as well, and I'm wrong. I know I'm wrong. Anyway, fuck that guy too. The only act of fraud was the predecessor calling the NRA's definition of the Second Amendment an act of fraud. This was back when I was still a gun control supporter, and I'm reading that and wondering, what? That doesn't make any sense at all. And this was before I'd read Machiavelli, and no, it was not Berger. Berger was before I was born, I think. Wow. Ghost, I'm surprised you even know that name. Um, I think Berger leaving the court is the one that Stephen Roberts. I want to say Stephen Roberts was appointed to fill. God damn, we would have been like itty bitties back then. Um, so yeah, I'm not a fan of Roberts or Roberts. Um, oh, hmm. Well, I'm getting the wrong name. Yeah, that's not it. That is not even close to the right one. So, gonna move on. Um, Supreme Court Chief Justice Berger. God damn, we were little back then. Called the NRA a fraud at way back. I was not aware, but I'm not surprised. Congratulations, Luke. I know you were talking about that 2 weeks ago when I did my last live stream. Ranko, oh God, there's another name. Don't I should delete that comment just for mentioning that name. Moving on. Um, so Miller versus Bonta is a small rock that is going to end up a huge, huge landslide when it crashes into the Supreme Court. Roberts doesn't want it there. Well, fuck that guy. Um, Sotomayor doesn't want it there. Fuck her too. A lot of people don't want it there because they know what's going to happen. And if you don't believe me, um, there's a couple of people actually in the chat that know my real name. I would be happy to pass along to you the emails that I got from Moms Demand Blood Money, where they're talking about Miller versus Bonta and how this is so dangerous. You want to see them? You know how to reach me. I'd be happy to pass them along. Yeah, hey, Ghost, go back. Keep your job, bro. It's any one of you. It's at work. God, don't drop that for me. Also, don't drop chapel services for my ass. It's not worth it. Um, Thank you for coming in. Right. That is a battle that has to be fought and won, even if we don't want to. Right. Oh shit! I better move this shit along. The next section was willfully misconstruing others after stabbing them in the back. I'm not going to name names. There is a certain individual who said something that hurt the entire 2A community. I know that some of what he said was taken slightly out of context. But here's the headline. Moms Demand Blood Money is going to go out and start raising funds based on 2A advocacy being in trouble. That is their headline. They're going to raise money, and I can foresee them using the money that they raise to permanently silence another voice. Some of the people in the 2A community didn't willfully misconstrue it, but they misconstrued it. That part happened. You need to be very careful about what you say. This guy, 2 weeks ago, excuse me, is on another channel whining and bitching about how everybody misconstrued him and misconstrued his intentions. All I said was, I'd love to fight your buddy. And he has decided to misconstrue what I said. So, a little bit of a hypocrite there, bud. By the way, I talked to my boss. I know sooner or later he's going to hear about this and he's going to make a comment. And it'll be one of those few comments that gets hidden from the channel. All right. Got to move on because we're at 2 hours and 45 minutes. And oops, that was not part of the plan. So sorry, guys. And I didn't bring this up because I had a technical difficulty. PNG files. Oh, there it is. File name is Title 3 because I'm not very clever. Buckle, I didn't know you knew Ghost. That's cool. Okay, got to remove that first. Share. Okay, share a screen share. Windows, photos. There's only one up. Make sure it's the right one, not the other two. Right. Full screen so that you can read along. Then two. There. All right. Title 6, Other Provisions, Section 5, Exemptions, Third-Party Exemptions. Any person unable or unwilling to apply for a mandatory exemption may have said exemptions applied to a court on their behalf. Any person for whom an exemption is requested by another party may petition the court to refuse said exemption and has a right to a hearing by an impartial jury. You notice I put jury in all caps. I know when it goes forward, somebody's going to say, no, you can't put those in all caps. And you're right. Can't put those in all caps. This is as close to a red flag law as I'm willing to come. For whatever reason you are unwilling or unable to apply for an exemption, there are people who are unable to because, generally speaking, these are developmentally disabled, DD, retarded. That's a technical word. So fuck your algorithms. They're unable to apply, or they're in a vegetative state, or something else. Or they're unwilling. I have a cousin who would be unwilling to apply for an exemption, and he's schizophrenic. I love him, but he's schizophrenic. Schizophrenia would have his voices telling him, don't apply, they'll know. All those little suspicious things that the voices he hears would tell him to not do. I would be willing, me personally, Kerry, would be willing not only to make his application on his behalf, but to testify to said application on his behalf. All right. It's not because I hate my cousin. I love him to death. But no, you really shouldn't be. This is the same cousin that said, I'm the reason you should carry, huh? Because I get into that state, I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, and the only way you're going to stop me is to shoot me. If you knew my cousin, you'd understand it's probably true. I want to throw a big one out there. Another party may petition the court to refuse said exemption and has the right to a hearing by an impartial jury, not a single judge, not a jury of judges. All right, you have a right to an impartial hearing. Now, maybe there's some things I need to clean up on this. Wow, I wish Ghost been able to stick around for this part. Actually, I know there's some things that this needs work. But yeah, there are some people out there who are just unwilling, and they need somebody to step in and say, hey, this is, bro, this is not right. You need to deal with it. All right. Might go a little over today. Section 6, restrictions. The federal government may only restrict suppressors, silencers. It's both ways, because the patent application says silencer. They don't actually silence, they suppress significantly, so I put that in there. Assault weapons. Remember, go way up and you see the definition for assault weapon. Machine guns, autocannons, rotary cannons, AOWs, and explosives incendiary other than tracer, and armor penetrator munitions as follows. Okay. Tracers would still be legal. Other incendiaries, no, sorry. Explosive, no. M203 is a grenade launcher that can be mounted onto an AR-15 or most other NATO rifles. It's not the gun that's banned. It's the explosive rounds. You got chalk rounds, you're still good to go. Okay, except as follows. 1. Weapons included under these definitions may require a license to possess not to exceed a single-page form establishing who the applicant and or designated representative is and where the weapons will be stored. B, a form for each transfer establishing who is receiving said weapon, so it'd be the Part A information all over again. C, a fee not to exceed the actual cost of government for processing. If it's working out to be about $3.25 to process this, you're going to pay $3.25 and not a penny more. Okay, Part 2. The states may impose or mandate no restrictions, fees, or other controls not specifically provided for within this act. The state may impose reasonable regulations on the licensure for concealed carry and must accept concealed carry permits from sister states without exception. Said requirements may not include a mandate for liability insurance nor mental health evaluation. States are not obligated to issue concealed carry permits from residents of other states, nor are forbidden to do so. Concealed carry permit processing may take no longer than 7 working days. Any concealed carry permit application not completed in said time frame shall be conditionally approved. Any concealed carry application not completed within 30 working days of that shall be unconditionally approved. Time restrictions for conditional approval may be suspended during a state of emergency upon declaration by a governor or the president for not more than 30 days unless renewed by the state legislatures or Congress. And then for the duration for a crisis during which time, shit. Give me a second, guys. It's obstructed by this thing that says it's been covered. Of course it is. All right. Well, I'm going to cut to the short of it. First of all, 90% of this is stuff that you've already seen one way or another. That's where I'm supposed to be. I'm just going to go over the new things. Yeah, there's a red flag in here. And you have an absolute right to appeal. So, it does provide a limitation on assault weapons and machine guns as the rest of the definitions go. 1 page and a one-time fee. Believe me, you can get it. It's not even an hour's pay. Trust me, federal employees are paid more than you are. There's no requirement for states to issue concealed carry permits, but they probably should. There's also no requirement for them to mandate it. I want to say we're up to 20 excuse me, 12 uh, constitutional carry states already. I know Ghost is one of them. Nevada's going that way, or maybe we did already. I missed it. Texas just went that direction. Um, Arkansas is going that direction. But there's a bunch of them. These states would not have to issue a concealed carry permit, but they probably should continue to do so because their residents will go into other states that do require concealed carry permit to carry concealed. That's just an issue. Um, and they might not be able to get to a state that issues out-of-state concealed carry permits. Papa Carey has a concealed carry permit for one state that does out-of-state. He also has one for his state, but he doesn't have one for California. And right now, California doesn't recognize out-of-state permits. This would be the end of that shit. California would not have any such say. His home state doesn't require it, but they should, and they should continue to issue them because he may not be able to get to Virginia, for example, or my state. And that's the way it is. Now, this time information. First of all, that needs to be cleaned up. There's a couple of mistakes there. Should be 30 total days, and it can be suspended, but a conditional approval would remain. Conditional approvals cannot be suspended under any circumstances. That's the reason they exist, right? And you would still in a conditional approval means, okay, well, it took us 8 days to get around to you, so here's the gun. If we find something wrong later, you're going to have to give it back. I know that's going to be an issue, but it's an issue we'll have to deal with when it happens. 30 days. If they don't get it done within 30 days, you get to keep the gun. Hey, we fucked up. We screwed off. Didn't file your paper, didn't address your paperwork in a timely fashion. That's our fault. We're just going to have to hope that you're as good a person as we apparently thought you were because we didn't get around to you. And yes, this is to put pressure on the states and the feds to process the paperwork. That's it. Right? You can't have somebody sitting in limbo for 5 years, like the New Jersey case where the woman was eventually murdered because they sat on her concealed carry permit application for 5 years. It can be suspended in the case of a emergency only, because sometimes emergencies do come up, and then it suspends the conditional or the unconditional permit, not everything. Right, I'm going to get that chat back up on share screen, Windows, gobbledygook, share that, and put it back the way it was. There we go. Now I'm going to go over it, so it might look a little bit weird to everybody, and I kind of don't care. Right. Oh, wow, it didn't go that far. Okay, Luke said, going to pick up my, yeah, congratulations, Luke. I know you've been talking about that. Thank you. Buckle. Oh, okay. All right, so one of the reasons I do this is to get ideas on how to clean this Stanislav Act up, and I If you have any suggestions, put them in the comments after the live stream because I might want to copy and paste. 7 days of you sitting around for your permit to be processed is long enough. All right. I got my background check in Oregon done in about 20 minutes with a big hiccup that I caused. I was trying to be less than totally honest and gave an address that was not totally honest. And I did that to myself. And that caused a big delay. Yeah, like 20 minutes worth of delay. It is what it is. And then I got a lot more honest real quick, and it went through. Like 10 seconds later, I was talking to the lady on the phone, and I gave a proper home address. I gave my mailing address. Okay, thank you. I gave a proper home address, and she said, "Okay, that's great. You're cleared." Handed it back to the cashier, who went to process the rest of the paperwork. There's no excuse why it should take 7 days. I'm being magnanimous unto eternity by saying 7 days. It doesn't take 7 days. It took me 20 minutes. The 30-day thing is even more magnanimous. And you'd think that if they were really smart, they're not. Mom's Demand would actually be saying, okay, we can get with the 30-day plan. They're not going to. They're going to demand a 30-day processing or cancel bullshit, which I think was the New Jersey case. It took them more than 30 days to process it, so the form was now void. And then they just sat on that, didn't tell her, hey, your form got voided out because it took us more than 30 days. 5 years later, her ex-husband comes back when he got out of prison or something. I am being magnanimous by saying 7 days. I'm being magnanimous by saying 30 days. And I'm even being magnanimous, because this came along after COVID, by saying, and unconditional can be suspended, but not conditional. And if you've got a better thought, if you got a better idea, I'll hear it out. Okay. I did start late, so I'm going to go a couple minutes over, even though I'm out of coffee. And I'm out of coffee because I started late and couldn't refill. That's how long it took. All right. The Fauci emails revealed a lot, but not quite what people are saying. Right? Don't put the cart before the horse here. Holocaust deniers and other conspiracy theorists. First of all, if you're a Holocaust denier, come back to reality. You're an idiot. Other conspiracy theorists, you need to step back and say, wait a minute, is this real? Or is it, I'm confusing other things? Like me in the Dakota Crash case. By the way, I ran Dakota Crash just as it was, just said Dakota Crash conspiracy by Papa Carey, and he fell for it too. Yeah, so did my brother who was with us at the time, because this was while we were up at the lake house. He fell for it. I fell for it. And I'm sitting there reading it, and I fell for it. I don't have Papa Carey's excuse. Miller versus Bonta is an avalanche, and it is going to crash into. I think Brady campaign specifically has come out and said this is bad, and good. I hope so. Don't willfully misconstrue something. If you're confused, ask. If you're not actually sure, ask. Don't assume, and don't say, put it on pay-per-view. as your response. Not that that's my case at all. Don't stab people in the back and then pretend to be the victim. And third-party exemptions are a thing, but you will have an absolute right to appeal. That's as close to a red flag as I'm willing to come. Call it a pink flag because that's really all the closer you get. Might be dark pink though. I'm gonna read. Okay, I am caught up. Let's get a couple last minute questions, and then if there are any, and then get you guys back to work. I want to continue to say, for those of you, continue to say prayers for Luke, because he is so far behind enemy lines that, yeah, I'm shocked that he's able to still come in. Every day, I expect to hear Luke say that he's in the hospital or worse. The day he tells me that, of course, I know some other people are going to be in the hospital with him, but kind of not the point here. Boss, thank you for those corrections. Okay, so we're about 7 minutes over, which is still 3 minutes less than I was late. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I can kill some time with. Last week, what happened, Papa Carey was expecting the internet installed on Tuesday, and they decided they weren't going to do it. He's working on getting that fixed. The week before, the reason the chat didn't show up is I had come in about 20 minutes before, set everything up, had the chat up and running, added it to the stream, and what I didn't know is that YouTube's chat does not refresh if you pop out screen you pop out screen and then let your computer go into hibernation mode. So y'all are screaming at me, trying to get my attention, and YouTube is telling me, what do you mean? Nobody's talking. So we'll not be making that mistake again. Okay. Go ahead and wrap it up here, guys. Remember, above all, the world is a very, very nasty and horrible place, even when you're surrounded by good and wonderful people. Downtown San Francisco, that's all I need to say. Clarify. The fact that downtown San Francisco is the greatest concentration of AR-15s per capita in the entire United States is proof enough that the world is a horrible place, even if you're surrounded with good people. And it doesn't matter how many rules and laws you make to ban guns, bad guys will still get them. Period. End of discussion. So, keep calm, mandatory carry on, and pray that you can live your life having never had to use it.